Hey guys, Crystal Thompson here for Simon Says Stamp. Today I have a very cool one stencil 3-card video using the Cozy Wishes November card kit. And as you can see, I have my 3 cards ready to go. We're using the beautiful stencil included in the kit, which is called the Berries and Leaves 6x6, and you can see that we use different mediums, ink blending, and all sorts of different things to create these cards that look a bit different with the same color inspiration of a gorgeous teal and red. I'm feeling my Christmas vibes with this November card kit, even though it's not Christmassy, so you can take this to the next level. So first up, we are going to start by creating a card that is a 1-layer with stencils. We're going to do a little bit of heat embossing. This kit includes the awesome Everything Tool pet, which you can use to clean your stamps, or your blenders, or you can use it for a ton of things. Hop on to the Simon website where you can get all different ideas on how to use the Everything Tool pet. And we're going to begin by doing some ink blending using the Twisted Citron Distress Oxide. I have a limited array of colors in my craft room, so I like to use what I have, not having to buy a bunch of stuff. So again, a very simple 1-layer card for our first one up here for the video. So I'm using some craft cardstock. In hindsight, I wish I would have added a bit of tape on the back, but because I was going to do some turning around, either counterclockwise or clockwise, to really circle that in. So as you can see, the stencil's larger than my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And so what I'm doing is I'm using the inner part of the stencil to create that wreath. This to see how it created the nice little circle. So that is why I ended up not sticking it, but next time I might end up doing just a little bit of tape. Next up, I'm going to bring in a different color. We're going to use peeled paint, again, a Distress Oxide product. And I'm going to shift around where the stencil is. So I'm going to bring it in closer to that circular area, and I'm going to do about 1/2 to 1/4 of the circle, and then I'm going to turn the stencil again in order to create that perfect wreath. With it being a 6x6 stencil, the inner circle of the stencil of the wreath was too large, so that is why I'm shifting it to create that nice little wreath looking stencil. And then we're going to shift colors and create something that has different colors of green, and then it also has different layers, so it looks very multi-dimensional even though it's only a 1-layer card. We're going to move on to our last and darkest color, which is this Lucky Clover, and I'm speeding up the video now that you got the gist of why I'm moving the stencil to where I'm putting it, and I'm going to continue to do some ink blending of that inner part of the stencil, and then again shifting it over. And if you feel the need to flip the stencil over, with it being not having like a right side and a wrong side, if you want to change the way the leaves are coming through, it's very easy to do. Once that is completely dry, I'm going to bring in the Cozy Wishes stamp set. This is a 6x8 stamp set, also included in the kit. And I dusted my cardstock with some, what do you call that, embossing buddy, or a little bit of cornstarch. And then I'm going to stamp it using the Cozy Wishes stamp set. It's a really pretty font, using the Simon Says Stamp watermark embossing ink, and then using the Simon white detail embossing powder. I'm going to bring in a little brush and remove that extra part that kind of got stuck onto the Distress Oxide, and we're going to heat set it. Once that is completely done, I'm going to bring in my favorite Gansai Tambi Starry Nights watercolors. This is an array of 6 watercolors that have like different shades of gold. I want to say it's like 5 different shades of gold and a white, and I absolutely love this white. I add a little bit of water, kind of mix it up, and then splatter the whole thing, and it just gives it a little bit of color. And if you want a very white splatter, just add a little bit less water or blend a little more to allow that water to turn more into a pigmented medium and splatter away. So now I'm going to bring in that beautiful red color that I had mentioned. That was kind of the inspiration for my cards today, was mixing that teal with the red and the white. It just creates a really cool Christmassy vibe, even though it's not your traditional, green and red. And just adding a couple of drops of the Nuvo red. And they have so many different colors, but I just love, I believe this is candy apple red. And as you can see, I'm going really slow because I want to be sure that I'm creating four different sizes of these dots to make it look a little bit different, so you don't have a bunch of circles that look the same size. And by going slowly, I end up with different sizes of Nuvo drops, and then once it dries, it kind of levels down, so they don't end up being sticking up, kind of like, it doesn't look like a chocolate chip drop. It'll level down into a little circle, little berries, and it really looks really neat. And then to finish up, in my stash, I had some, I want to say like half pearls. I don't know what you call these. These are from Studio Katia, but there's so many different vendors. I'm going to put down below in the video description all the different kinds of these cute little drops. And they're just like a pearlized water drop, or maybe like a half pearl. So whatever you want to call them. And then I'm trying to do different sizes of them. So I'm using my Mono Tombow Adhesive Clear. I really like the way it really gets a hold of it, and it dries really fast, and it dries clear. So if you end up adding too much and it smooshes out of your embellishment, that's okay. It doesn't look odd. It doesn't look shiny. It just looks like it's part of the embellishment. And so I'm going to add my last ones, and then I'm going to move on to our second card, again using a very similar color inspiration, the same stencil of the Berries and Leaves 6x6 from the Simon Says Stamp November 2021 card kit. So once it's all dry, this is what it looks like. You can see the beautiful water splatters. And moving on to our stencil. So we're going to use the stencil now for a background. Yes, that's right. We're going to use a stencil for a background that's not made for backgrounds, but I think you'll really like it. I have a piece of white cardstock. This is the Nina 110 pound, and we actually do have a packet of it included in the card kit. So I'm going to use this, and actually I am going to bring in my little washi tape to hold on to my stencil, so I'm sure not to kind of move it. And the reason I wanted to stick it down to the cardstock is because I'm going to be using two different colors of Distress Oxides. So we're going to bring in some cracked pistachio and the beautiful Simon Says Stamp ink blenders. I absolutely love these. They are large, and they're actually made for ink blending. And honestly, they're not going to break the bank, and they're just super pretty. And I feel like they match the colors of the ink pads. So anyways, with that little spiel there, I'm going to bring in my cracked pistachio with my gorgeous Simon ink blender, and I'm going to dab. I found that this stencil was delicate enough. There was enough of a detail on it that if I rubbed it, it kind of moved. And I don't want to have it move. I want a very clean look. So I'm going to do dabbing of the color, especially so we have different layers of color. So you have like some soft tones, and then you have a really dark tone. And then with the same brush, I'm going to come in and grab this gorgeous blue in just different areas, very random. I didn't really think where I was putting this. I was adding just a little bit pieces of blue here and there to finish up the coloring, and it gives it this beautiful two-tone of the leaves, and it really allows for the background. So I'm gonna shift this around. I'm gonna lift it up, and the washi tape I ended up using wasn't super strong, so I was pretty happy the fact that it didn't tear the back of my cardstock. And that's what I found too. Little tip: when you're using some tape to hold down your stencil, do it on the back of your cardstock as opposed to the front or your surface, because it ends up tearing up your card base or your card panel. And I create card panels and then I stick them to my card bases. So again, I'm going to stick this down to the paper and then stencil on top. So now that we have that going, I'm going to speed up the video just a little bit. It gave me a little bit of time to talk. And again, I'm going to start with the dabbing, and I'm going to start with the darker of the blues here, dab, dab, dab. And then I'm trying to be super careful about staying inside of the stencil, especially when you have a straight line like that. You don't want the line of the stencil to show up. So I actually managed to achieve that, which is very hard. And then I kind of did all the sides by just turning my stencil and creating a nice little pattern. So to fill up some of these white spaces, I'm going to bring in the Simon Says Stamp Lipstick Red. It's a gorgeous ink color. And then this little dot stamp set, kind of looks like berries, is from the same, the same Simon Says Stamp Cozy Wishes 6x8-inch stamp set. So I'm just going to be pretty random about this. I like to turn my stamp about a couple of degrees every time I stamp it down, just so it doesn't look like it's the same. And then protecting my surface, I'm going to go all the way out to the outer edges, and I'm trying to be careful to make sure that I give them enough spacing, not to stamp on top of each other, but it does create a nice little berry look. And honestly, this lipstick red is kind of deceiving when you stamp it. It looks really dark, but as it dries, it dries into this really pretty red, not quite maroonish. And it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous color combination. I have a piece of some Malibu blue Simon cardstock. I can never say it. Malibu blue, whatever. And I've cut it to a 4 1/4 to 5 1/2, and then I cut a strip about 2 inches, and I am sticking that on the side of my card base to just give it a little bit of look. And I used normal adhesive. I didn't use foam adhesive. And then using the With Thanks sentiment strip, you get one sheet in the card kit. I cut it. It says With Thanks, thanks for all you do, and use foam adhesive for this. And then for my embellishment, I grab another Nuvo Drops. This is a gorgeous glittery blue, and I'm going to add a little drops. Again, don't worry if it ends up looking like a chocolate chip. It's going to level down as it dries. And then when it's completely dry, you're going to get this gorgeous glittery blue dots. And then you have the lipstick red stamp dots. And then you have multiple colored stencils of the background. And it looks like it's raised, doesn't it? And it's not. It's just because we have different colors. And I'm going to add a little more of the red. This is the same Nuvo drop that we used earlier. And again, just coming straight down. And one of the things I found through experience was to come straight down with that bottle as opposed to sideways. If not, that's what you end up with, like wonky looking circles. And see how like they're tiny little red things? Once they dry, they're going to be kind of reddish pearlescent. And there you have it. This is what it looks like completely dry. See how it's a little bit glittery, and it doesn't give it you can't quite see it very well on the video, but it's really, really pretty. And then last but not least, we're going to go with a little more elegant happy birthday card, or you could totally do with a wedding look, but we're sticking to the contents of the kit. So we have the same color of cardstock that we used earlier, with that Malibu blue and our gorgeous 6x6 berries and leaves stencil. And I have this thing ready to go. I have some Nuvo drops, and these are super glittery. They're in a shade of blue. I'm going to link down below on the video description what I ended up using. And of course, everything I use is available on the Simon Says Stamp store. So when you order your kit, which is still available, you can order some of these products if you don't have them in your stash yet. So using my little spatula, I'm using the Nuvo glitter paste and using the same stencil and just kind of cleaning the edges. And I ended up using very, very, very little of it. And then I'm going to lift up, not to the side. And I think this was the hardest part. This took me a lot longer to lift up than really adding it. And I added a little piece of tape to hold down to the stencil. Go wash that stencil off fast, fast, fast. And I wanted to create a cute little area right there in the inner part. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to mess it up. I could come back later when it's dry, but we're going to let this be. Let it dry. It did take about 5 to 10 minutes. And while that's drying, I have another piece of this Malibu blue cardstock. stamping the happy birthday from the Cozy Wishes stamp set. And I'm using the Simon Says Stamp watermark embossing ink, and I'm letting it sit down for a couple seconds to really let that sit on the cardstock, let it absorb. And then using Simon Says Stamp silver embossing powder, we're going to run this through a heat gun and be sure not to overheat it. And turns out to be this gorgeous silvery. I hand cut it, added a piece of foam adhesive in the back, and it's ready for putting our card together. So I have a 5.5, 4.25 piece of cardstock, and then I have our beautiful stenciled gel that I've cut into a smaller inner rectangle. And then I have a piece of foam adhesive. I like to use foam adhesive that is double-sided. I don't have it this time around. I had one-sided foam adhesive, so I added glue or roller glue to the card, the first piece of cardstock. Then I'm adding the non-sticky part of the foam to that. And then, because that's the sticky part, I'm going to bring in the one that we had stenciled and I had cut. And once it's dry, it dries into this really pretty silverish blue. And then we're going to add the happy birthday that I have heat embossed with silver and then hand cut, I fuzzy cut around it using my Tim Holtz scissors. Love those things. And then we are going to add a couple of embellishments, and these are just silver sequins. These are Studio Caudia as well, but there's different brands that carry a very similar look. I'm going to link those down below as well. And adding these sequins of different sizes in between the areas of the stencil that kind of have more of a centimeter of spacing. And I'm running these embellishments in a circular fashion to follow the wreath. And again, this is what it's completely dry. It's really pretty. I thought it was a gorgeous, elegant, happy birthday card that kind of matches the entire set. So you could give these as a set. You get like a Cozy Wishes, thinking of you card. And then with thanks, so you give this once we went over to Thanksgiving dinner, we're going to send this one. And then if you have a December, November birthday, how cool is this wintry inspired Cozy Wishes birthday card? And guys, that does it for me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. The card kit is still available on the Simon Says Stamp card kit store. I'm going to link it down below. It's $39.99. You get a lot of these products, and hop on to the YouTube channel. I'll have more videos with more inspiration because it's still available. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you later.